Welcome to Uniquely Loved, a celebration of authenticity and divine inspiration. We are encouraged to be our own unique, authentic selves. Join me, Witch Niki, as we discuss spiritual gifts and skills we can develop and enhance, speak with amazing people using their skills in a variety of ways, and explore the different ways to connect to the wonders of the universe. Hello, my loves, and welcome to the show. I am so happy to introduce to you Katherine Bird. Katherine is a mentor and trainer of healers and spiritual practitioners. She is a shamanic channel, medical qigong practitioner, and a transformational consciousness coach. Katherine, thank you so much for being here today.
Hi, so nice to be here.
Oh, could you just jump right in and tell us a little bit about your journey?
Sure. Um, let's see. I mean, it seems like it's been a long journey, but I had one of those awakenings that was very intense. So I had a not a long drawn out subtle experience. I had almost as if I went through a portal between one life to the next life and uh, went from, okay, this is just, I'm going along. And then I started getting messages that what I was doing, I should like quit everything and stop everything in my life. And so I actually did that. I had some visions and was told that I was not on the path that I needed to be on and that things needed to change drastically immediately. And so I did. And I started really looking at, okay, well, who am I then? And started asking that question and sitting with that. And pretty quickly, things started to get fairly weird. And so I started having a lot of energetic and spiritual experiences and spending hours and hours every single day, pretty much in altered states and um, uh, not being able to fully manage or handle what was happening totally, or I didn't understand it at all.
Mhm.
And was having experiences that I didn't have any context for. It was sort of pre social media. So there wasn't a lot of people talking about these kinds of things like there are now. And so I was felt fairly lost through the process, but uh, of moving energy and having visions and receiving messages and doing a lot of channeling and incorporated channeling. So having a lot of spirits move through me. And thankfully, I was ushered along the path and received some really beneficial teachers and people who helped me and figured it out over time and followed those messages. I had received that I was a healer, and then things started falling into place that, oh, I should go over here and learn this with this person. And then that led me to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And, um, I just kept following those pieces over time. And then eventually needing to come out and be honest about what I was really doing. And especially in terms of the shamanic and spiritual and channeling work that I was doing and sort of being thrust out into the public eye of coming out of the closet. And there's no turning back.
I know. I know when I went through mine, because mine was rather quick and sudden as well in leaps and bounds. Mine was like a roller coaster, and there were times where I was questioning: Am I going crazy? I know I'm seeing things. I know I'm sensing things before they happen. I'm sensing red flags from people. What the heck? And
Yeah.
having
Yeah.
people there to help validate is huge.
Yeah, it's really important. I mean, when we're on this path, there are generally things that we all go through, I think, as far as our self-doubt and trying to figure out, like, is this real? Am I crazy? Is this something? I mean, I remember, being in the bathtub and like just having these huge experiences and being like, oh yeah, okay, now I get it. I get it, that why that they would, medicate or institutionalize or burn people like me, because this is pretty crazy. This is pretty outrageous. And there's always this, is this real? Is this me? Is this made up? Am I on the road to being completely uncontrollable by my own self? So that can be really scary part of this process for some people. So not everybody has it to that extreme, but for some of us, that's part of the initiation.
Hmm. Yeah, and learning to let go of that fear can be, it's freeing, but it's really scary going through that process and learning to trust your own senses and your subconscious, because that's scary.
Yeah, and I think that in this world, in our society, for most people, trusting things that you can't see, trusting your felt sense, trusting your body, trusting what your understanding of just what you know, just because you know it, not because there's any outward proof of that, has been, you've you've had a whole lifetime of people telling you that's not real, that's not possible, stop it.
Hmm.
And you're only allowed to know things uh, because we've told you, or you've worked it out in, I like to think about or remind people, remember when you were in school and there was a math equation and you had to show your work, and you wouldn't get credit if you just knew the answer.
Hmm.
And so there's this thing where we were very systematically trained not to trust what we just know because we know it.
Hmm. Yeah, and you have to follow the path of logic. And the subconscious doesn't the subconscious doesn't operate on logic. It defies logic. And that's what's scary because it is uncontrollable.
And it's not as linear as people want things to be.
Hmm.
And it's symbolic oftentimes and representative and subtle. And it can take a while to sort of flush itself out within your awareness. And we were taught that these spaces within self are dangerous, that they're places that you shouldn't go, that you shouldn't be, within the subconscious and the unconscious parts of self, and the things that are sometimes really giving us important signals about our environment, and what is safe and what isn't safe, and what is right and what is not right for us. We've overridden it.
Oh, yeah. And it doesn't help that, many of us spend lifetimes or the entire life being told, you know, a lot of women are in tune with their body. We know when something's off. And then the medical professional is like, oh, that's just all in your head.
Yeah.
We get gaslit, and it's just like, no, I know what I'm feeling. And then you find somebody who believes you, and it's like suddenly there's this wealth of information because somebody dug deep enough. And
Right.
us digging deep enough into our subconscious unlocks so much.
Well, it's is everywhere. It's everything. It's being told that, oh, that little boy hit you because he likes you.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
that doesn't make any sense to your body. Your body is like, that's dangerous. That's
Mhm.
wrong. That doesn't feel good. And then we're being told the exact opposite is the truth. Or, I don't trust this person. I don't want to hug them. Well, you have to hug them. I'm sorry. Or, I need time alone. I need to go into my room and be alone. No, you're not allowed to shut your door. You're not allowed to lock doors in this house. You're not allowed to say no to me.
Mhm.
And so when people start to go through this process of learning how to trust themselves, which so much of spiritual development, spiritual work is about, I am learning how to trust and surrender into my own self and knowing myself and deepening, okay, who am I? What do I believe? What do I know to be true? What do I care about? And so there's a whole lifetime, or like you're saying, lifetimes of deprogramming to do within this process.
Oh, yeah. And it's unlearning all the crap that we've learned over a lifetime it can be daunting because, again, we think it's logic and we think it's factual.
Right. But that's the distortion.
Hmm.
Right. That's the distortion that's come into what we would call logic or fact or science. All of these things have been distorted. So because they all arose out of spiritual practice and understanding, connection to nature, connection to the goddess, connection to the earth, connection to the elements and the minerals and everything that is, from a deeply connected personal space and experience, listening to what is available to us and building logic, building science, building structure, building all of these things out of that place, out of that true mystic's path. It all
Hmm.
arises from there, but we've lost that. And I think that we are in a time of great reclamation, of reclaiming our humanness
Hmm.
as part of the greater collective of the the beings of this place and beyond, in that we are capable of collaborating and communicating and being in deep personal relationship.
Hmm. And could you go through a little bit of, I don't know, advice or even personal experience for when you started building a relationship with your spiritual team, your guides? Anybody knew anything that they would?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's so many pieces to this.
Real hard.
So many pieces to this. I mean, number one, I would say that when you're doing this kind of work, it can be destabilizing because you're shifting things really quickly, or you're connecting to a lot of things at one time. And so it can be helpful to sort of narrow things back for yourself and focus on number one, fit your physical body. Like, we think that our spiritual development is all going to be this stuff up here, and that we need to, like, be out of our body, and we need to be in this ethereal space. But the most supportive things that you can do are take care of your physical body, get back in touch with your physical body, do things your physical body wants and needs. Taking baths, being in nature, touching yourself, doing physical practices, even working out and doing things that will make you more physically robust, will make you more spiritually robust. Dealing with your trauma and the things that keep you out of your body. So for a lot of people who are very psychic, there is a need to work on being embodied and being in the physical body and then in the physical realm. And sometimes people are afraid that if they do that, they'll be less spiritual or less in touch. But it's really helpful to work with the physical body and the energy, to work with your energy body and to learn like what's going on in the internal energy body, how that functions, with your central channel and your energy centers, and how do you cultivate energy and hold energy, and be able to run high frequency energy through your system
Hmm.
and into your field, so that you are more robust, both physically and energetically, so that spiritually you can interact and not take things on and not be connecting to things you don't really want to connect to, and to have this greater sense of safety and protection, not necessarily from, oh, something's going to protect me, but from, I am that protects me.
Hmm.
And then as far as like the relationship building, I think it's really important to be as simple as possible when you first begin, and to consider your higher self, like a wisdom part of you, that there is a great wisdom part that knows more than you would give yourself credit for. So that there is a part of you that's like, yes, that's good for me. That's not good for me. Yes, I feel that that is beneficial, expansive, good. And no, I don't, I'm not interested in that. And I'm saying no. Right. And then to cultivate very simple relationships to begin with. So when we're looking at, oh, there are spirits around us at all times, like that's just is what it is. So you have spirits of your home, you have spirits of your land, you have elemental spirits, you have your ancestors, you have certain spirits where you can, oh, thank you. And I think being in gratitude, appreciation, making simple offerings, um, putting out water, putting out herbs or little pieces of food, if you don't have critters coming in your house, but putting things out and being mindful. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate spirits of the land, spirits of the home. Thank you for making my life more beautiful. I love it here. Thank you so much for making this such a beautiful place to live for me. And I so appreciate you. And thank you, ancestors, for walking this path before me, and starting to have these kinds of relationships and just these conversations that you get to have. Because then when you have stuff going on in your life, you're like, oh, well, you know I have a place to go to speak to what's going on for me. I have a place to go to ask for help, to offer appreciation, to really think about nature and just infusing your life with more of this stream of gratitude and appreciation for every single tree and every single mountain, every single bird that you see, that these are all beings that you can have relationships with. And that is so, I think, stabilizing and rewarding and rich, beyond where people are like, oh, well, I want to connect to a alien or an angel or like this ascended master or something like that. Like, I think while we can cultivate those relationships, these simple relationships, I think, can be the most rewarding.
And it gets us back into, well, being present in the physical as well. Like you said, that's so important already. And cultivating relationships with nature all around us is a wonderful way to do that too. I love that because I I love that.
Right. It doesn't have to be so complicated, and um I think that a lot of times on this path, we compare ourselves to other people or things that we're seeing, or maybe we go to see a practitioner and we're like, oh my gosh, like they can see all these things and they can do all these things, and we're like, oh, and they've been doing it for 20 years. And or we have some friend who has a certain kind of way of receiving, but what's really important is that we figure out how we receive, that we all are so unique. It's one of the things that I love about teaching channeling, is that every single human is so different in the way that they receive information, process, and transmit that back. And for me, it's like, oh, it's a puzzle. Like, oh, let's figure it out. Let's figure out, like, how are you experiencing life? How are you experiencing these connections? When you call in a specific energy or being, what is your felt lived experience of that? And then how do we expand that? and lean into what's easy and try things that are more challenging and increase your capacity for understanding what you're coming across.
Hmm. Yeah, because so often, especially with TV and of course social media now, we see so many different things glamorized, and it's like, oh, I wish I had that. And then we're completely bypassing the skills we have that we may not even realize.
Yeah. And yeah, and especially like this thing about TV, whenever you like, their representation of maybe like what a psychic person is and what they're, and they're like, you see it and you're like, oh, it's like a movie. Like it's these pictures that are a movie, and it's not necessarily like that.
Hmm.
And sure, for some people, they might have that experience, but for most of us, it's more like an impression of
Hmm.
an image that has a sort of felt sensation that is sort of carrying the message forward. And uh, it's something that you have to learn how to work with and to go, oh, I am seeing something, even though it's sort of like, mm, it's sort of like an image.
Hmm. Yeah, I'll get fractions of images, I guess we could say, like a portion of like maybe part of a face or a little bit of hair or like a couple of flower petals to kind of give me an impression of what they're trying to convey. And then I have to search, okay, what emotions are coming up? Am I smelling anything? Am I feeling heat or chills or waves like water?
Yeah.
And then I have to try and put it all together like a puzzle. And it's just like, it can get frustrating because it's like,
Right.
I just want it all now. Come on.
Right. And everybody does. Like that's what everybody is doing. But we often don't ask for enough help, right? We don't go, can you clarify that? Can you give me more information? Can you make it more clear? Can you make it more visual? Can you give me a different kind of clue? Like for me, I bring through a lot of words. So I channel a lot. And so I don't generally get images until I start speaking about something.
Oh,
So
cool.
if I was waiting for an image, then I could just sit here waiting all day. But if I start speaking at something, then I'll get images that are clarifications about what I'm talking about. And then if I speak to the image, it gives more information. So it's like following this little this little path, but that's the trust piece. Because
Hmm.
sometimes you might get a picture and you're like, well, I don't know what this means, right? But we want to know what it means. Like we think we should know what everything means, but we have to learn how to trust that we don't know.
Hmm.
And take this really uncomfortable risk of saying, I'm getting this, and that's it, right? Like I'm getting this and then waiting to see what the next thing is. Because sometimes if you speak it, the next thing will happen. But if
Hmm.
you don't speak it, the next thing won't happen.
Yeah. I've started basically acting like I'm having a full-on conversation with somebody physical, when they're talking to me, because it's like, okay, I'm getting this, but that's it. And then, once I could start hearing, it'd be like, oh, wait, hold on. And then like the image might shift or I might get some sensation to go along with it. So
Yeah.
the asking piece is huge. It took me forever to realize, oh, I can ask because
Yeah.
we
And so
know things.
often, so often they will talk about how that um, you don't ask enough. They will oftentimes, for a lot of people, that's the message that they're bringing, because people are like, well, I want to do this and that. And they're like, well, one of the main issues is that you don't ask for help. You don't call on us. You don't invoke us. You don't ask our advice. You don't ask for help. You don't ask for clarification. You don't ask for help. And so I think that that's one of those pieces about your own practice and developing your practice. It's like you want to be in this flow. where the energy is constantly moving, the information is constantly moving. And I think that's why we need to focus on, I'm making offerings, I'm making prayers, I'm giving, I'm grateful, I'm appreciative, I'm lighting the candles, I'm putting the incense, I'm putting the water, I'm putting the herbs, I'm placing these things, I'm giving. And then I'm also asking, I'm calling upon, I ask for your presence in my life. I ask for your help. Please help me. And that we're in this natural flow that we get to be a part of. And then life really starts kind of flowing as it should.
Mm-hmm. I know oftentimes we get into the mindset that we have to take care of everything and do everything on our own. And, asking for help is a weakness.
Yeah. Well, that's another one of our cultural conditionings
Mhm.
is hyper independence, so that we're not allowed to be in supportive community.
Mhm.
And we've been pitted against each other.
Yeah.
And so we see that same inner reflection in our spiritual work. And so we don't think, oh, I mean, I think it's important to even consider, like, do you actually believe that you are supported, that you're cared for? Like, can you let that belief land inside your body? And if you can't, there's some work to be done there.
Mhm. Yeah, there's a lot of, well, even for me, there was a lot of hindrance for even me accepting the fact that I was unconditionally loved and supported. Because for a very long time, I had to earn love. At least
Right.
that's how I was made to feel. And I know a lot of people, you know, whether they grew up or had other relationships that taught them that. And that's something we have to deprogram and get out of.
Yeah. Yeah. It can be very challenging to believe that that love is unconditional, that there is that it even exists,
Hmm.
or that love, like that there is an abundance of love that exists in all places at all times, and I am that. Because that changes your life.
Yes.
You're no longer operating from a deficit, you're no longer operating from the not enoughness, which is one of the great plagues of our world, is that I'm not enough. And I think that in our spiritual practice that, we can come from this place where we're not enough, and we don't, which, we've all grown up within the context that God doesn't love you just because you exist. It's infused throughout these teachings that your very existence is not enough. And that was a really potent way to manipulate people into constantly having to work their lives away to give their blood, sweat, tears, money, possessions, and everything that they have and own in order to support religious institutions to have power and wealth and control. But let's not do that anymore. Like, let's actually see what's real, that beyond these programs we've been offered, there is an abundance of love. And anything else that, I mean, you look outside, this is the most beautiful place ever.
Oh yeah. And it doesn't matter the season. There's always something beautiful to be found.
Yeah, there is. I live in Santa Fe, and the skies here are just amazing. And it's like, every single day, like, what is going on out there? Like, oh, look at that cloud. That is just stupendous that exists in this moment, and it's changing.
I'll do cloud gazing with my daughters and make up stories with some of the shapes and stuff that we find, and infuse, some of the spiritual meanings that I've learned along the way with some of the shapes that they find to
I
help
love
teach them.
that. I love that. Yeah. Well, I think that there's that opportunity, as you are, with younger people to be able to help them access the magic that's inherent within us all that we've had to relearn and to heal. And uh, there's this amazing opportunity to pass on that there are some people who maybe won't have to relearn that so much.
Yeah. Oh yeah. My oldest is 10 and I'm working on her self-esteem so she doesn't grow up the same way I did. Shy little wallflower and everything. My journey has been super empowering and I'm trying to help um, encourage them as much as I possibly can so they don't have to unlearn anything. It, we're human, so there'll still be some things, but
Yeah, we all have our path to tread and
yep.
those lessons to learn over and over again.
Yeah, and some lessons are harder than others.
Well, it's like I always look at those things and I'm like, yay, oh, this is hard. Okay, great. Like there's something really here. There's something really here too. That's this is hard. I mean, when it's really hard, when you're like, wow, this is so, so, so hard. It's like to be able to find that place within yourself to go, oh, this is so hard. And wow, I am so grateful to be able to feel the sensations of this. I'm so grateful to be able to feel like, wow, this is so painful. Isn't it incredible just the amount of pain that I am capable of experiencing in this moment? Or this is a really hard lesson that I thought that I learned before, and now here I am learning it again. And okay, all right. So what can I get out of this? How am I going to grow? I know I'm going to grow. I know that I'm doing such a good job growing here.
Yeah, shifting to that mindset it's revolutionary because it focuses us more on moving through it instead of staying stuck in it.
Yeah.
And I
You know,
found a lot of times when we're going through the really, really hard stuff, breakthrough is usually right around the corner.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's those moments, with we all have our best friend that we call and talk to. And so it's those moments where both of us will go, okay, how are you? And it's like, well, I'm okay, not okay. All right, I'm not okay. Okay. Like I am not okay right now. And I'm okay because I have the lived experience to know that when I'm not okay, I'm still okay.
Hmm.
I have the nervous system regulation enough to know that, wow, I'm feeling all of this, but at least I'm in my body and at least I'm feeling things. And I know that I am not okay right now, but I also know this too shall pass. And even in the not okayness of this, I am okay. And I think that sometimes when we're young and we're like, oh gosh, everything is so intense, and I haven't been through this before, and my world is crumbling, and maybe something happens like, oh my God, I'm never gonna recover. I'm never gonna love again. I'm never gonna put myself out there again. I'm never gonna have a job as good as this. I'm never going to, have something that was as good as what I had before. But I think that after lived experience, you start to realize, oh, actually things just get better. Like when you lose stuff, there's grieving and there's sadness and there's process in that. And life does move forward where you do find a deeper sense of self-love and peace throughout the whole process.
Hmm. Oh, yeah. And I know for me, a lot of my hardships have been stepping stones to get me to where I am.
Yeah. And some of us just have to learn things the hard way.
Yeah, a lot of us are stubborn and we do learn that way.
It's like we can say, hey, I would like to change that. And I am willing to learn things in an easier way, in a more easeful way. Like, let's learn things in a more easeful way. I see that I am quite stubborn, and I'm willing to let some of that go so that I can learn more easily.
Oh, there you go, talking about asking for help again.
Exactly. I mean, so much of our, our work is like being willing to let things in,
Hmm.
being willing to like, oh, do I have to let in that I am like this special, magic, beautiful being and accept that? Like that's probably one of the harder things to let in is like, oh, I am unconditionally lovable. I am special and magic, and I have something to offer.
Hmm. Well, a lot of us, you know, we're brought up thinking, or we're conditioned to think that, if we brag about anything, if we even compliment ourselves, then we're egotistical and we're conceited, when that's not the case.
Mhm.
You can be proud of yourself and accept that you are magical and you are powerful without going into the whole egotistical aspect of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like, narcissistic people don't usually ask if they're narcissistic. But people who are on the other end of the spectrum are often asking, am I being narcissistic?
Well, we've seen that and we don't want to be that. So we try to stay far away from that. Unfortunately, it's usually to our detriment.
Right. Because then we're like, oh, I don't want to be powerful. I don't want to be controlling. I don't want to take over something. I don't want to be that person that I've seen that is, the example that we're holding things up against.
Yeah.
Um, but sometimes we have to in this life, for some of us, really step forward and be willing to take some pretty big risks. And I think especially with if you're called to spiritual work and you're called to being a healer, if you're called to being a channel, if you're called to helping other people, there is a very real process of stepping into that role and stepping into holding that and the responsibility of it, the ethics of it, the care of it, the honor that you hold as that role. And it takes something. Like it really takes something. It's not some small feat. I think that sometimes people think that it should be easy, and then they're really surprised at how challenging it is to, well, I'm called to this thing. If I'm called to this thing, then why is it so hard? Why is it so hard to tell people that I do this, or to offer it, or to ask for money, or to post a post about it, or to uh build something around it, invite people into it? It can be, look, it can just feel like you're just ripping yourself apart in that process.
Hmm. Oh, yeah. And a lot of that, I think, comes from being told that we have to be in the supportive role. We can't be leaders, we can't do all the things. And we see all the powerful people who are very aggressive in their methods, and we don't want to be that way. So we hold back instead of stepping into our power that's authentic to us.
Yeah.
And finding that balance it's interesting. That's a process all on its own.
Yeah. But, you start connecting, something that has come through quite a bit. There are certain high level beings that um will just be like, what is wrong with you? Like, you I just can't even hardly deal with this because, you are unwilling to see yourself. You're unwilling to see what you are. that you are a powerful creator and that you can create reality on this planet and change things and do things, and that what you're capable of, you have such a small relationship with. And they're just like, get it together. Cause like, see yourself, know yourself, like step into something and take up control of your life and control of what you're creating, and create and bring beauty to this planet right now, today. Stop stopping yourself. Do it.
I love that. That's definitely something I've learned over the years. They've been hammering it into my head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do it. Take a chance, take a risk, just do it. Accept your power, accept your beauty, accept your magic, accept your love. Be willing to be that uncomfortable, because then it'll start to become more comfortable.
Yeah. And being uncomfortable is what gets us out of our comfort zone and into growth and expansion.
Yeah. Yeah. It's none of this is super comfortable for a while. And then you go through the next initiation, and then that's uncomfortable. And you're like, oh gosh, I had no idea that I was still holding on to that, or that I hadn't integrated that. And you're like, oh, that's uncomfortable. Okay, great. Now I'm like stepping into that. I'm good. And then you're like, the next thing, oh God, this is uncomfortable.
I know it, and it seems like it's a never-ending cycle. And I know some will feel defeated by that. I know I have in the past as well. And it's it helps us build up the resilience and shed a lot of old stuff that's no longer serving us.
Yeah, I love that you're using that word resilience, and it is. And when you look at traditions and you look at uh these experiences that we know happened in the past, or when you look at indigenous communities and you look at the initiations that people go through, that we in the West, we've lost all context of what that means to be initiated, to go through initiation, and to be in ceremonial work. This stuff is hard. There
Mhm.
is so much discomfort in being in these kinds of ceremonial experiences. There's so much discomfort in learning how to work with a specific plant. There's so much discomfort in learning how to work with a specific animal. But we've been conditioned that comfort is everything and that we should always be comfortable. And if I'm not comfortable, there's something wrong. But we have to lean into the discomfort of life so that we can, like you say, increase this resiliency and grow. And so often when people are going into these experiences, or opening their channel, or opening their mediumistic abilities, or their psychic abilities, or their healership, there are these edges where it's uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And oh, there's sensations that are uncomfortable. There are experiences that are uncomfortable. You might see things or know things that are uncomfortable. And that is good. That is by design. That is important. And people are so afraid of things, oh, I might see a dead person. I don't want that. I might encounter an alien. I don't want that. Or I was like, well, sorry, that's probably what's going to happen because you don't want it.
Break that
You know,
fear.
right? Everybody is always so scared of like dark entities and demons and stuff. And I've never encountered a person who didn't have an experience with dark entities or something that they're perceiving as dark, who didn't grow through that process to become more powerful, clear, precise, empowered, discerning, capable, and on their path.
Mhm.
I've never seen it happen, actually. And these are our little initiations that we get sometimes, and they help us to understand, oh, that, yeah, oh, I wanted I really wanted to get like a deer to show up, something soft, a bunny, right? I want something soft and cute and a koala bear. I want something cute to be my guide. And then you're like, oh no, sorry. It's a snake and it's a vulture and it's a scorpion and it's we get these other things that show up and you're like, oh, okay, well, all right, I guess I have to, and then it's like, okay, who do I have to be to work with that energy? Who do I have to be to work with the archangel? Who do I have to be to work with this level of energy and this level of guidance that's coming through? Who do I have to be to work with that kind of power? It requires you to step into a new aspect of yourself.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely. One that, honestly believes that, you're worthy of working with entities with that kind of power. Because I mean, we're all divine beings, and realizing that took a lot of time for me. A lot of processing for me. And it's like, for a long time, it's like, who am I to be worthy of connecting with any guide?
Yeah. And especially as they, come through and you're like, oh, well, that's like, well, that's a big deal. That seems weird or whatever. But like they wouldn't be showing up if you weren't meant to work with them.
Mhm.
Because they just wouldn't, a high level kind of being or a powerful being. And sometimes we experience that power and we misinterpret it. We don't understand that, oh, that is something that is bringing power to me. And always there's in different systems and lineages and cultures, it's like yeah, you work with the challenging aspects. You work with poisonous plants, you work with you intentionally call in challenges
Mhm.
because that's going to help you be stronger. And you don't just do like whatever the cutest thing is, because you are actually intentionally challenging yourself to grow
Mhm.
all the time. And I think that's like one of the essence pieces of like what this whole path is about. Like, oh, I am going to intentionally challenge myself.
That's a wonderful way to grow. And people who are on the healing path, we're meant to help people through challenging times. So we need to be able to understand how to work through it and how to help them heal. And oftentimes we go through that ourselves so we can do that.
Yeah. And I think that's really important when we look at a lot of times people who they're drawn to the healing path, but then they've had really hard lives. And maybe they've experienced a lot of abuse or a lot of illness, or have a lot of pain, physical pain or something, or mystery stuff, right? All the mystery things that we get. And so they will interpret that, how could I be a healer? How could I help people if maybe I've had all this stuff or I still have things that I'm working through? And so they'll hold themselves back
Mhm.
from training and from offering. And that is, I think that's often a mistake that people make, that they're not capable of helping people because they've had such a hard time, when that hard time has been the crucible by which they learned the intricacies of true compassion.
Mhm.
And compassion is the seed of the core of the healer. And if you can't touch that level of compassion and understanding for the pain of humanity, then you can't really step into this. And one of the ways that we learn that is by having hard times.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I think too many people equate the healing spiritual journey to like going to school to become a doctor. And it's like, oh yeah, you learn all the steps. that means you're fully healed and then you can be a healer. It's like, no, it's always a process. We're human. We're always shedding. We're always letting go. We're always learning, growing, and expanding. And we lead by example.
Yeah.
And you not only lead by example, but you teach people how to channel, how to step into their power, how to become the healer that they're meant to be.
Yeah, I do. I do a lot of things. So I have a lot of programs. I do have a channeling program, Open Your Channel. I've been teaching that program for 8 years. And then I have an additional program after that for it's a year long working with different beings. And then I have people who've continued on for years after that in an apprenticeship program. And then I have a program for healers specifically that is really working on yourself and then developing the skills to work with other people. I have a business program that is for healing practitioners who are looking to take all this training that we do. Because so many people take so many certifications and so many trainings, and then they don't know how to just put it out there.
Mhm.
And I have a Qigong program working with Chinese energetic medicine and emotional alchemy and your nervous system and really cultivating power and healing yourself. And those are kind of my main things. And then I have a lot of other little programs that I offer as well.
That is awesome. Where can people find out more information?
I'm pretty easy to find, Katherine Bird, so katherinebird.com, and I'm on YouTube. I have a podcast called Shaman Sister Sessions. I'm everywhere on all the things. Facebook and Instagram, and I just joined TikTok. We'll see if it lasts.
Yeah, that's a whole nother can of worms. And you have a book coming out.
Yeah, so it might already be out by the time this is up, but the healer's process, which is inner work and skill development to fulfill your sacred purpose, and so goes into a lot of things that we're discussing even more deeply, into really discovering who you are as a healer and moving through the wounds and the beliefs and the blocks and looking at the archetypes of the healer, and then taking you on a journey through building your energy body internally and then through your field, working through childhood wounds and things that you've experienced, and learning cleansing and purification practices for yourself and to work with clients, working in a sacred container, and how do you work with your guides and teachers and other kinds of beings, and lots of spiritual development work, and then doing your most authentic healing work so that the unique expression, this book is really about uncovering who you are, uncovering the unique healer that you are, and learning how to do that and accept that and live into it, and how to be an ethical practitioner and to take care of yourself and to take care of other people in your practice, and how to integrate all kinds of things, how to integrate really deep healing work and help other people through their integration process. So this is I've been working on this book for 5 years. It's a culmination of so much of my life's work, and I'm really excited to put it out. And there'll be a workbook next, which will be 50 different practices and a bunch of journaling and things. But this has been something I've been really focused on for quite a long time, and it's going to be a very beautiful book. I have an incredible illustrator and designer who's drawn some really beautiful images for the text. So I'm so excited to get this out there.
Awesome. That sounds completely amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's one of those things where you just have to do something. And I think that that kind of speaks to everything that we've been talking about, like on this path. Like there are things that you just have to do, and there's just no denying that this is part of who you are, and you just have to show up for it, even though, I mean, this has been one of the hardest things I've ever done.
Your entire practice and everything, all the different modalities that you bring to the forefront for people to help them grow it's amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I mean, so much of this, it's just like going back to, oh, the hard times, or going back to the struggles, going back to the illnesses, the pain, the physical things, you know, everything that I have done and learned is because I had to. Because I was like, oh, I need to show up in this kind of way. So I need to train in this kind of way. I need to study in this kind of way. I need to develop in this kind of way. And so that's what I just bring to my work, is like, wow, if I had had all of this sooner, I would have gotten further faster. So instead of having to like puzzle piece it all together and figure it out.
Yeah, I often think that too. It's like, man, I could have gotten started so much sooner if only I had known. But
If
it was
only I had known.
there, there were certain catalysts that, had to happen, certain dominoes that had to drop in order for us to actually get the ball rolling and get
Yeah.
started and
Yeah.
think,
And
oh, I can.
it's never too late. It's never too late. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I've been doing this for so long, and how am I gonna, like, am I, is it too late? No, just keep going.
Every single new day is a brand new chance to start over and create and co-create exactly who you want to be.
Yeah. And to just get to know yourself, like just use this, like this incredible life that you've been given, this opportunity is like, wow, just take as much out of it as you possibly can. And you're going to hurt, and you're going to struggle, and you're going to question, and you're going to freak out. And like, that's all okay. Like get your tools, get your practices, get your self-awareness and your evolution, change things that don't work. Make changes, be radical.
And they don't even have to be big changes. They can be little changes that we just stick with, and that'll snowball it. That'll create a snowball effect too.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
Is there anything else that you would like the listeners to know, or anything that's coming through?
So one of the pieces that they're like, just elaborate on the fact that there is capacity that is within the potential of your being that you have no understanding of, that what you're capable of, what you can do, what you can create, what you can bring to this world is, you currently have but a fraction of an awareness of that. So anything that you dream to do, to be, to create, to bring forward, you can do that, but multiply that by 1,000,000.
Ooh.
And that is what you're truly capable of. And don't let anybody tell you that you are not a divine being of light here to become manifest on this planet and to hold a space of light for all humanity, that you hold that frequency and that it is part of your destiny to transform consciousness on this planet. And just by your very beingness, in doing nothing but being who you are to the fullest potential of what you are capable of being every single day, you are helping.
Ooh, all the feels with that one. Ooh, okay, and tears.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
So
that's that's awesome. And And then the realization that we are fully 100% supported as we realize that potential and strive for it it's freeing and helpful.
Yeah, you're not alone.
Hmm.
I think we often think we're really alone, and maybe like you grew up in a home where people were like, "Why are you so weird?" And why are you so sensitive? And why are you such a crybaby? And why are you like that? Be
Hmm.
like us. Stop it. And so you think you take in and you take on that you're alone, and you're not, because there's a lot of us and there's a lot of them. So team up.
Yes. Yes. Find your soul family in the physical and connect with all your guides.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on the show. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much. It's been great speaking with you.
I will definitely be putting all the links in the description to include the links where everybody can find your amazing book and just scroll on down and click and go right there and buy it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me today as we explore what makes us uniquely loved. Be sure to subscribe. More adventure awaits. For more articles and to work with me as your personal guide, go to www.techwitchlayer.com. Always remember, you are accepted. You are